Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode If You Could Hite a Cola podcast. My name's Daniel. This is my brother Clive.
Hello, everybody. We are on this part two of Joseph sold into Egypt, being imprisoned, and now we're going to talk about the miracles that preceded all of those things. Daniel, I've got the quote, so
All
if you
right,
want me to just get straight
let's
into it.
go.
All right, so Jeffrey R. Holland, he had a book, or he's got a book out called Created for Greater Things, and there's a really great quote in it. It sort of reminds me of Joseph, but it's really for everyone. It says, "Your Father in heaven knows your name. He knows your circumstances. He hears your prayers and knows your hopes and dreams, including your fears and frustrations. And he knows what you can become through faith in him." So we're talking about Joseph today, and the Lord continued to bless him and knew exactly what he would be prepared for, and he did.
Excellent. Okay, so Clive, we got up to chapter 40. So today we're going to do chapter 40 and 41. I might just give a very quick, in case you missed, just for 30 seconds or so. So we pick up the story with Joseph going out to find his brothers. His brothers are out there somewhere, and Reuben isn't part of this, but the brothers say that they want to kind of teach him a bit of a lesson. Judah is kind of the ringleader of the situation, and they end up throwing Joseph into a well or into a pit. A bunch of traders see him. They buy Joseph from them, and Joseph is then taken to Egypt. He finds favor with Pharaoh, but Pharaoh's wife, I think the Apocrypha called her name Zaliah from memory. She is courting Joseph. Joseph ends up being thrown in jail because the wife essentially says that Joseph did X, Y, Z with me. Joseph proclaims his innocence, but he goes to jail. And I think, Clive, we discussed that he was in jail for about 12 years. So he's sold when he's 18. And then I think it's in section 41. It tells us that Joseph was 30 years old when he comes out of when he finishes with Potiphar's dream. Yeah. So that is the pre-story. I mean, we talked about that for 50 minutes, Clive. So we might as well just squeeze it into 20 seconds. But nevertheless, so we're on to chapter 40 now. So we find ourselves. It's to set the scene. Joseph is in prison, and there is two others in prison. There is a butler and a baker. And the butler goes first and asks Joseph to interpret his dream. So where should we actually start, Clive? Where's the best place to start?
Well, I think it's important to note that Joseph notices these guys more than they're thrown in with him and they say, "I've had a dream." So in verse 6 to verse 8, I'll just give that a read. This is 40. "And Joseph came in unto them in the morning and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. And he asked Potiphar's officers that were with him in the ward of his lord's house, saying, Wherefore look ye so sadly today? And they said unto him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpretation of it. And Joseph said unto them, Do not the interpretations belong to God? Tell them me, I pray you." So they've come in, they've looked sad, and Joseph's gone, "Tell me why you're sad." Like Joseph at this point, remember, he's been given so much in the prison, like the keys to the prison. Essentially, he's still a prisoner. So I imagine he's doing the rounds, checking on all the prisoners, and he comes across these guys and like, "You guys are sad." I mean, surely it's because they're in prison, but he's gone to them, "You guys are really sad. Tell me why you're sad." And they've gone, "We've had these dreams. We don't understand them. There's no way to interpret them." And he's gone, "It's for God to interpret. Tell me your dreams, and through the Spirit, I will help you."
Yeah, he's really made one thing you just said then made me think a bit more. And Joseph doing the rounds at the prison, like, we think about Joseph. He's in prison. He's in squalid conditions, but actually, you're right. The guards noticed Joseph. They noticed his demeanor. They noticed he was a man of God. They noticed he was trustworthy, and they kind of get him to do the work for them. And so, yeah, I'm imagining he's walking around and exactly like you said, he sees them and maybe he's seen them before. Maybe this is the first time he's seen them, but he's picked up on their countenance.
So the butler, so Joseph essentially says, "Tell me your dream." So I'll tell the dream, and then we'll read the meaning, because the
Right.
meaning is better read than explained. So the butler says to him, "Well, there's a grapevine, and there's three branches growing off the vine." He said that he picks the grapes, crushes them into Pharaoh's cup, gives them to Pharaoh to drink. This is the story. This is the dream. So in verse 13 is the interpretation. Maybe you read the interpretation of the dream. Verse 13.
Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head and restore thee unto thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after this former manner when thou was his butler.
So essentially, you will be back with Pharaoh. You'll be back bottling again, as the play says. Um, and it's funny because then Joseph says, "Don't forget about me," in verse 14, "but think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house." So hey, you're going to go to Pharaoh. Don't forget about me in this
Yeah.
prison. And later on, we'll read that it took him 2 years to actually remember what Joseph had done for him. But then the baker comes to him and says, "Interpret my dream like his would be nice." I mean, it doesn't say that, but again, that's in the musical. So the baker, he then says, "Okay, I was carrying 3 baskets of bread on my head, and in the basket was much manner of baked meats." I imagine it as bread, but it's baked meat, so it's whatever bakers make. "And birds came and they ate and they took everything that was in his baskets." And so the interpretation of this dream, Joseph then gives in verse 19.
Do you want me to read that again? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. I mean, there's two dagger points here, Clive. Like, Joseph is not mixing words. He's going to lift up thy head from off thee. He's going to remove your head. Your head is going to be gone. And then what about the rest of your body? Well, it's going to be hung up and birds are going to eat it. Hey, Joseph, maybe just say, dude, you're going to die. Like, do you have to be so descriptive? Because this is going to be 3 days later. So for 3 whole days, he's going to be like, what's doing? What am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, my head's getting cut off and then my body is going to be hung up. Like, if that's happening to me, I'd be saying, Joseph, just say things aren't going to end well for you. You know, probs, write a will. Yeah.
I'd go. It was baskets of bread. It wasn't my.
Yeah.
Do it again. Let me able to tell the story
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. Did I tell you the dream I was meant to tell you was the other dream, not that dream? I told you the wrong dream. That's probably why you got it wrong. Can you do this other dream? It really, really interesting. And Joseph's take on it and Joseph's explanation, he's just, because he says the Lord is going to reveal the dream. I don't tell the dream. The Lord's going to tell the dream. So he's seeing images in his head, I'm imagining, and he's seeing it play out in his head, and he's just explaining exactly what he sees.
So now the next 3 verses explain, or the next 4 verses, sorry, explain exactly what happened. And I might just read it. So 20 to 23. "And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler upon his buttleship again, and he gave the cup unto Pharaoh's hand. And he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to him. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him." So it all came true. It all came true on Pharaoh's birthday. Everything that Joseph said, as he explained it, all came about. And then it says there that obviously the butler didn't remember Joseph, obviously too happy about everything that's been going on. But after everything that Joseph's been through, I see now where miracles are coming. Like the Lord people always say, things will happen in the Lord's time. Joseph had a dream that his brothers bowed down to him in star form and in wheat form, or bundles. That hasn't come about yet. Joseph's then thrown in a pit and sold as a slave. He tries to do good. He tries to keep the Lord on his side. But so far, things haven't really worked out. But Joseph knows that things will. And now we get to see the miracle or the work that Joseph's actually put in come about. Now these things are starting to unfold. And this is now the beginning of the unfolding for Joseph. And all the miracles will sort of gush out at this point, is how I read it.
Well, it's interesting, Clive, because Joseph's been in there for 12 years, or going to, in the end, be in there for 12 years. The butler and baker, we believe, aren't in there for that long. Their punishment is swift, or their forgiveness is swift. So Joseph is being looked after, I imagine, because this is Pharaoh's own prison. And so he's been left in there without being left to starve to death. These miracles you just talked about have been occurring to him the whole time. Like, he's obviously being fed well enough. He's got, he continues to be able to earn his stripes. He continues to be able to earn trust with these guards at the prison. And later on, he's going to need that because he's going to be taking a bigger reign throughout the land of Egypt. So the Lord is continually blessing him each day. That a point in time will come in the future where he will be able to provide Pharaoh with a service, which is tell his dream. But he survives in the prison doing a great job and continues to be blessed until that time comes as the Pharaoh can use him.
Yeah, and I guess it's a good story or a good thing for us to all look at and go, I've been told to pay my tithe and the windows of heaven will open up. Well, nothing's happened. And you go, well, look at Joseph. Nothing might happen straight away, but things definitely will happen. There's blessings poured out all over the place, but maybe it's just not your time. And, it does take a long time and it does make us question, I'm doing these things right and I'm not being blessed, but you've really got to take a step back and see that the Lord's time is the Lord's time.
Well, I'm imagining for those 12 years, every day was Joseph like, oh, geez, nothing's still happening, nothing's still happening. But if you look back, he survived for 12 years in a prison and had responsibilities and helped people. I'm sure every day the grind in those prisons, he wasn't thinking, oh, today's another great day, but actually over time, if you
Yeah.
look back at the sum of those 12 years, he was truly, truly looked after.
All right, so now 41 verse 2, 41 verse 1. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. I guess in the dream, we'll talk about that in a second. But 2 whole years, as I mentioned earlier, that now the butler is bottling again, and Joseph's still in the prison. 2 whole years did he forget Joseph, and well, I mean, I don't know if he forgot him or just decided now's not the right time, now's not the right time. But for Joseph, 2 years would have felt like a long time going, I've given you these dreams. You've gone out, you've done it, and now don't forget
Well,
about
at
me.
what point do we talk about the word butlering? Butlering, is that what the word is?
What?
Butlering?
Well, bottle ship. It says in 21.
Bottle ship, butlering.
You can say whatever we want. Neither one of us have butlers.
That's true. That's true. If I ever get a butler, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to say, how was your bottle ship today?
All right. So Pharaoh has a dream, and we'll talk about the dream in a second. But one thing that Josephus said, so it always made me wonder why Pharaoh had a dream and was so concerned about getting it interpreted. Because how many times have you had weird dreams and you've gone, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that means something. And normally you just shove it off.
Right.
But it always made me wonder why Pharaoh had the dream and then went, there must be a meaning to this. So Josephus, and it's a really long section, so I'm not going to read it, but Josephus essentially says that Pharaoh had a dream, and in the dream was the interpretation of the dream. And when he woke up, he remembered that the dream had an interpretation, but forgot what the interpretation was.
Right.
And so that's why he needed people to come to him and tell him what the dream meant, because he knew there was a purpose behind it. So I thought that was quite interesting.
That's really interesting.
Okay, so do you want to talk about the dream?
Yeah. So basically, there's 2 events of the dream. There's 2 different things. There's these kine, these animals. They come out of a river, and the first 7 of them are large. It actually says that they came out of their well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, large. They were big, plump. They fed in a meadow. So they were, you can imagine, our description is that these animals that come out of a river, they're relaxed, they're well fed, they're large, and they don't have a care in the world. They're just eating in the meadow. They're just doing their own thing without being bothered. And then in 3, and so this is 41 verse 3, then we have another type of animal comes out of the same river. 7 other kine came up after them out of the river. These ones were ill-favored and lean flesh, so they were really, really skinny. And they stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. So we have large, and then the same animals come out behind, but they're really, really small, impoverished. And the fat ones, the fatter ones, they're eating. Remember, they're just chilling out. They don't have a care in the world. But the ill-favored ate the 7 well-favored ones, and Pharaoh wakes up. So we've got ones that come out of the river without a care in the world. Another one comes out of the river. They're really skinny and gross looking. They stand there, and after a moment, they're waiting. And then after a moment, they eat the other animals. And so now there's only one type of animal left. It's a really skinny, impoverished looking animal. So that's the first one.
So, all right. So then, yeah, like you said, he wakes up, goes back to sleep. Now he has another dream, very similar. So he sleeps and he dreams that 7 ears of corn grow out of the one root. Now you grew corn for a little period of time, didn't you, Daniel?
Yes.
How did you ever get 7 ears out of the one stalk?
It was growing your own
No.
corn is absolutely the biggest waste of time ever. Like it's 50 cents from the shop, or to grow one corn stalk, whatever that's called, you get 2 ears of corn, maybe 3, and you probably spend $15 of fertilizer and water and soil. Like it's
Okay.
crunchier, but that's about it. I mean, I would definitely don't. I mean, if we ever do a podcast about growing things, I would say don't ever.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great.
Was that where you were
All
going with
right.
that
Well,
question?
it was surprising, but
Yeah,
fine.
good. Okay, good.
All right, so yeah, so just of the one root, 7 ears of corn grew. As the stalk was so heavy, but at this point, because there was so many on there, it started to bend down. The fruit was ripe and fit for eating, and just looked absolutely beautiful. Then there was 7 other ears of corn on another root, and they looked thin and dry, and they fell down onto the other ears. So the bad ears standing up, the good ears sort of leaning over because they're so ripe and plump. And the bad ears fell down and landed on the good ears and consumed them as well. And so now the ill looking, dried up corn are the only ones that's left, and they still look disgusting. You'd think that consuming something so healthy would bring healthy, but it did not. And so, really, Pharaoh's now struggling, going, I've had these 2 dreams. Josephus tells us that he had the interpretation but didn't remember it. So he's called all of his wisest men.
Yeah.
And it even says in there that when they hesitated, he knew that they were wrong. So people, no doubt, are going, well, let me just make this up for old Pharaoh. So they've come to him, they've tried to interpret his dream, and he's going, there's no one that can interpret my dream. And now this is when the butler comes to him. And the butler explains that actually there was a man in jail that interpreted my dream, and he can interpret your dream as well.
I like Clive how he calls him Hebrew. So in verse 12 is where we're up to for those who are following along in their scriptures. Says, with us was a young man, a Hebrew, a servant of the captain of the guard. So he's still describing him. You know, this is where Joseph is from. He's from this land. He's not from here. He's from kind of out of town. So that also comes with meaning as well for Pharaoh.
Pharaoh then gets this Joseph out of prison, and he's, says to him, I need help to interpret this dream. And if you have in between the 2 parts, listen to the Joseph Made Technical Dreamcoat, this is one of the best songs.
Oh,
not the best
song.
One of the best. It is very good.
This is where Pharaoh is Elvis.
Pharaoh is Elvis, and we will sing it now. No, we're not.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to watch it straight after this, though, by the way.
All right, so if you want to know the interpretation, this is it. So verse 29 and 30. Behold, there come 7 years of plenty throughout all of the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. So the 7 years of uh, fat kine or fat cows and good corn, that's 7 years of plenty of so much that we need a storage. And then with the famine, it's going to be devastating, so devastating that it even says here in 30, and the plenty shall not, sorry, 31, the plenty shall not know in the land by reason of the famine following, for it shall be very grievous. So the amount of stuff that we get before that will be forgotten, so because how bad it would be for the next 7 years. Absolutely forgotten about the plenty that we had. And Joseph explains that Pharaoh had this dream twice because it's of God, and that it will surely come to pass. Now, this is what Joseph suggests in 35 and 36. And let them gather all the food of these good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities, and that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. So that's Joseph's idea. Well, let's take all the plenty, all the extra, we'll put it in a storage, and then when the famine comes, we'll be okay because we can then start sifting through all of the excess that we've had, which is
Yeah,
fantastic. Pharaoh's like, "Yep,
great idea.
perfect. Let's do that." Yeah. And so now this, I've got marked in my scripture here. This is now Joseph's blessing. This, after everything he does, this is everything coming to fruition now in verse 39. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, forasmuch as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. So now he's got, just like in prison, just like in Potiphar's house, Joseph's now been given everything and gone, only next to me, you will be the next greatest in
Yeah.
Egypt because you've interpreted my dream. You've come up with this ingenious plan, and now go out and do this and prepare this thing.
And I'm imagining, Clive, that taking off of his ring is symbolic. Like, you now have something of my personal jewelry. This is the authority that you have. If anyone questions you, show them this ring. There is no one above you in this land now.
Yeah, and that's in 42. Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen and put gold chain around his neck. This is a guy that's been in absolute terrible situation for the last 12 years. Now Pharaoh's giving him all of this gold, all of these precious things. Like, it's just, this is Joseph's blessing for all the sacrifice that he's gone through. It's just an incredible situation for it to be in. Now he marries a Seneth. He marries a Seneth and has children. And Joseph collects all the extra food for the next 7 years. And that's in 49.
He really, Clive, the marriage here now links Joseph to royalty. That is correct, right? So now Joseph's line, he would eventually have Ephraim and Manasseh as children, and he is now part of that upper echelons of Egypt.
Yeah, that's right. He marries a prince's daughter, not Pharaoh's daughter, but another prince's daughter. But yeah, Egypt's blessed because of Joseph and everything that he's done. And then, 49, Joseph gathered corn and this corn as the sand of the sea, very much until he left numbering, for it was without number. So the amount of things that came in those 7 years were without number, and they were able to gather it all up. And the famine really didn't affect Egypt as much as it affected Canaan and everywhere else around about because of the blessing.
Yeah, but it's a great story. I'm glad this lesson's actually going over a few weeks because it's really, really interesting and just such a great story as well. Made very famous from the play that we have referred to 50 times so far.
Yeah, but it's a good play. It's definitely worth a watch.
We hope you're enjoying the Old Testament this year. Catch us on Facebook and Instagram. Catch us on YouTube. Subscribe to us there. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of You Could Hide to Cola podcast.